You know, I hope that the people who open this time capsule in the future live in a peaceful and friendly world.
With no hatred.
No prejudice.
No crime.
And no wars.
Think it'll ever happen?
If we all do our part and try to get along with each other, yeah, I do.
The future is full of surprises.
We just gotta hope for the best.
Welcome, dear viewers, to Power Rangers Time Force. The season begins with a narration.
1,000 years in the future, peace and justice reign. And thanks to the brave legion of the Time Force Police, the streets have been cleared of every criminal. Every criminal except one, that is.
The criminal, Rancic, attempts to construct a time machine when he's confronted by a Red Ranger, a member of the Time Force. The two fight, and we get to see right away that Rancic is a formidable fighter. However, the Red Ranger, Alex, emerges triumphant and Rancic is placed on trial, a mysterious pink-haired woman smiling at him. Alex proposes to the pink Time Force Ranger named Jennifer. Well, I'm sure no heartbreak or tragedy will come out of this. Rancic is found guilty and sentenced to be cryogenically frozen for the rest of his life. On the way to the prison, the pink-haired woman stops them and attacks the team, suddenly becoming a human ice cream cone named Nadira, who is actually his daughter. Rancic's people manage to knock over his transport and free him. The four contact their superior officer, Captain Logan.
Rancic escaped.
Do you realize how long it took us to capture him?
But sir...
No excuses! It was your responsibility and you failed. You're all officially relieved of your duties.
God, what a dick. He doesn't even want to hear the details of the escape so they know what to look out for. Rancic travels to the cryo prison, which actually turns people into action figures before they're stored. Anyway, after passing up on reviving Simon Phoenix, Rancic gets to work attaching a time travel device to the prison. The Rangers' green-haired telepath named Trip detects what's happening at the prison and they give chase, commandeering a vehicle.
This is an emergency. We need to commandeer your vehicle.
Get lost.
Wait. Jen, you have to be polite.
That's Katie. I like Katie. The fourth member of the team is Lucas, but he doesn't really do anything during the first 3 episodes, or much of the series, in fact. Alex rushes up to the prison and fights Rancic, but Rancic mortally wounds Alex before escaping. In his last moments, Alex gives Jennifer his chronomorpher and makes her swear to capture Rancic.
You and me.
Forever.
Too easy.
Rancic vanishes into the time stream, and the Rangers commandeer a time ship to go back and find him. By the way, their method of time travel is to have a big robot hit them, which sends them through a portal. Hey, why not? DeLoreans, police boxes, there are weirder ways to travel through time. Rancic arrives in the year 2001.
Colt 45, semi-automatic. Play-Doh.
This is probably a good time to talk about the theme song. I've got to say, at first I wasn't fond of it, but it grew on me really fast. I think my initial problem with it is that it sounded a bit atonal, but once you get to the instrumentals and the Timeless Wonders bit, it really starts to rock. The Wasserman factor isn't in effect this season, in my humble opinion. The fight music, while not the same fast-paced rock music of the initial seasons, has its own unique flavor to it and really seems to fit the mood of the season, both in its fights and its more emotional moments. Kudos to the music team. Oh, and I should also mention that the team has traveled with their robot buddy Circuit, an owl who will be the alpha of the season. Anyway, the team crashes on a beach in 2001, and the ship's going to explode thanks to the damage, and they quickly vacate it before it goes kablamo. They're close to a city called Silver Hills, and Jennifer distributes the chronomorphers, which are DNA locked to the Rangers so that only they can use them. I like the chronomorphers. Pretty nice and simple design, though I admit I always prefer morphers that flip open to ones that don't. This does beg a question, though, that's never answered in the series. Does every member of Time Force have a chronomorpher, or are the morphers something that the Force stole along with the ship? The four search for any signs of Rancic, and Jennifer briefly bumps into Wes, Alex's ancestor. Nadira, in the meantime, robs a jewelry store with this season's foot soldiers, the Cyclobots. The Cyclobots are apparently a very happy bunch, since they like to skip and dance as they move around, along with this weird arm thing. The Rangers intercept Nadira and try to morph, but the morphers fail to activate. The Rangers, being police officers of the future, put up a decent fight, but they're outclassed by the robots. Jennifer is saved by Wes, and it should be noted that there's some really good acting this season, and Jennifer's reaction to Wes really encapsulates it.
What was that all about? Oh, what's the matter? You look like you just seen a ghost.
Jen! Are you...
Circuit discovers that the other morphers won't work without the red one being active, but that's coded to Alex's DNA. Since they need someone with close enough DNA, they decide Wes is their best bet. Wes is a rich kid who lives with an overbearing dick of a father and runs off with Jen at the first chance he gets. Jen explains the situation.
My friends and I are from the year 3000. We're trying to recapture a gang of mutants that escaped through time and take them back with us. We think you may be the only one who can unlock these morphers so we can defeat them.
Wes naturally doesn't believe her, but when Rancic launches another attack, the Rangers regroup and fight. Rancic easily knocks them all down. Did I mention Rancic can make swords from his bones that he pulls out of his body? This season's starting out kind of icky. Rancic rubs in the fact that he killed Alex, but Wes comes to help.
Ready?
Ready! Time for... Time Force! Time Force!
The Cyclobots attack, but the Rangers pull off some Matrix moves and evade most of the blasts, save for the inexperienced Wes, but Jen explains that the suits protect them. Rancic and his forces withdraw for the time being. Jennifer takes away Wes's morphers since they only needed his help to unlock the morphers, and they go their separate ways. Following the Force from the Future two-parter, we learn that Rancic is suffering from a condition that seems to be mutating more deformed areas of his body. The other Rangers search through the wreckage of the ship for supplies and receive a transmission from Captain Logan. He's stopped being a douche and informs them that with the time ship destroyed, the group isn't going to receive any backup, though they will be able to send weapons back to them. Huh, if they only have one time ship, why the hell are the police forces of the future called Time Force? Wes, spotting Nadira and the Cyclobots robbing a bank, which makes a little more sense than Divatox's efforts, since at least Rancic's forces are from Earth. The Rangers save him and drag him off, berating him for treating their situation like a game. Trip is actually on board with the idea of making him the Red Ranger, but since Jen is the one in charge, they follow her lead. Trip later goes to see Wes in private and explains to him about Alex. Wes meets up with the other Rangers and pleads with her to let him help the group while Rancic reanimates one of the criminal monsters. Detecting trouble, the Rangers head out to fight it, Jen offering Wes one more chance. The Rangers use their supersonic jet to head to the fight, which I don't believe they use very often on the show. When Wes strikes the monster with his chronal saber, he cuts off a part of the monster's flesh, exposing its mutant DNA and causing it to grow. Once again, Power Rangers shows the most bizarre science imaginable, but hey, I don't see Rancic tossing a magic wand to make his monsters grow either. Circuit contacts Captain Logan and they send the Time Force Megazord out to them. This Megazord is made up of 5 jets and they control it with, their swords. So in the future, we've abandoned the idea of buttons in favor of swords. Oh, and by the way, this look familiar? The Megazord also has alternate fight modes and always has to return to the future because they don't have the resources to maintain and refuel them in 2001. Which begs the question of why they can't send reinforcements via the Zords, or use the Zords as a way of returning to the future for more equipment at least. The monster is destroyed and turned into a toy so it can be a collectible again. With their victory, Jen decides to let him stay as the Red Ranger. He sets the group up in an abandoned clock tower, which they spruce up to be more livable. For some reason, they install the bell in the tower, which seems like a bad call considering they're going to, live inside of it and all, but I guess they have no other place to put it. It seems the clock tower also used to have an odd jobs business working out of it before, and they make it into a business so the 4 can have money. Wes is kidnapped by Rancic, who explains his backstory. In the future, genetic engineering allowed for children to be born with so-called perfect DNA and would be free of disease and deformity. However, out of some of the genetic sludge that spilled out, a mutant was born, Rancic. Rejected by humanity for his deformities, he gathered an army of other mutants and set out to conquer the world as revenge for his treatment. This does beg the question of who Nadira's mother is, but for the moment it shows that Rancic has a different sort of motivations for his actions than previous villains. When Wes asks about it, Jen says that people tried to help him, but he turned them away. After an incident with his father, where it seems clear to Wes that his father cares more for his business than the lives of others, Wes leaves his home and moves in with the other Rangers at the clock tower. Secretly, during an episode where Jen attempts to get her revenge on Rancic for killing Alex, we see Frax, Rancic's robotic scientific advisor, swear that one day robots won't be so oppressed. For the next few episodes, it's Frax's machinations for unleashing monsters and robots, but then the subplot seems to be mysteriously dropped, for the moment. Meanwhile, Wes's father constructs a Zord, Rame, to be used to defend Silver Hills and the world at large. Rame is a big friggin' tank that gets blasted pretty quickly, but I like how we see people trying to find new ways to fight the monsters when the Rangers are unable. Meanwhile, in the future, a mysterious person tests the new Zord, the Time Shadow, and sends it back to the past, fighting a lengthy and intensive battle against the giant robot Frax had constructed and destroying it. However, the Rangers are unsure of who could have sent the Time Shadow to help them. However, during the next episode, Circuit's historical database indicates no record of the Rame tank, and the Rangers realize that Rancic's presence has altered history, meaning that the world they eventually return to may not be the one they left. And of course, like great Megazords that have come before them, the Time Force and Time Shadow Megazords can be merged to create the Shadow Force Megazord. However, the story of the season made its first major advance in Worlds Apart. Wes's father introduces his own fighting force to combat Rancic, the Silver Guardians. One of their members, Eric, is an old prep school associate of Wes. Wes is especially pissed about the Silver Guardians, seeing them as just another part of his father's greed.
You heard the report? The Silver Guardians only protect people who can pay for it. I used to look up to that man. I want to be just like him. But now I realize all he really cares about is money. All his big plans for me. Even I became just another business venture.
Wes tells them some more about Eric, who always seemed like he had something to prove and saw prep school as just a bunch of lazy rich kids wasting their time. During a monster attack, the Silver Guardians and the Rangers are deployed to the same area. While the Guardians easily walk through the Cyclobots, the monster they're fighting is from the X-Vault, where all the most dangerous criminals in the prison were kept. Frax has gotten a hold of the X-Vault and is privately using them for his own means. After the Guardians fail to stop the monster, Wes takes a blast for the Guardians, both his father and Eric seeing that it's him behind the cracked visor. Mr. Collins briefly confronts his son, trying to tell him that it isn't about the money, but Wes refuses to listen.
All my life, I've done what you wanted me to do. But now I'm in control of my own future.
At an archaeological dig, an energy box is discovered that's been in the soil since at least the Jurassic period, as well as cave markings showing a robotic dinosaur. Rancic, seeing the news report on it, recognizes it as part of the Time Force and dispatches a monster to take it, saying that it's the powers of the Quantum Ranger. Oh, and here's something amusing. Before the news report, Nadira is actually watching the Masked Rider show and crying over a tender moment, indicating that Nadira is a fan of Masked Rider. As the monster attacks, the Silver Guardians are deployed and engage the Cyclobots. The Rangers arrive as well and get the box away from the monster. Eric, overhearing the monster talking about the Quantum Ranger powers, takes the box and brings it to an industrial site for safekeeping. Eric requests leadership of the Silver Guardians, but Mr. Collins refuses since he doesn't know anything about Eric. Back with the Rangers, Circuit explains that when Time Force was first experimenting with time travel, they sent the Quantosaurus Rex Megazord and the Quantum Controller box in a test flight, but something went wrong and they were lost in time. The monster detects the Quantum Controller at the industrial site, and the Rangers head out to stop him. Eric refuses to hand the Quantum Controller over to Wes and puts his hand inside of it, forming the Quantum Morpher on his arm.
Please, don't do it.
Quantum power!
Eric? Is that you?
Eric tears through the Cyclobots and the monster with his gun, the Quantum Defender. With the quantum powers out of his control, Rancic instead decides to send a monster back in time to retrieve the Q-Rex. The Rangers spot the monster heading off, and Eric follows in his own vehicle, the TF Eagle. Wes leaps onto the Eagle as it travels into the past. The two get separated after an encounter with a dinosaur, Wes going over a cliff and Eric happening upon the cave where the quantum controller was kept. He realizes from the cave paintings that the Q-Rex is inside a volcano. Wes and the monster both come upon the Q-Rex, which is active and walking around. Also, no idea how the heck Wes survived the fall off a cliff and there's no indication that he morphed or anything. The monster manages to get to the Q-Rex first as Wes and Eric fight, Eric refusing to let Wes go in after them. The monster sends the Q-Rex into the future as Eric takes off in pursuit of the Q-Rex, at first leaving Wes behind, but then goes back and saves him from the erupting volcano. The Q-Rex goes on a rampage and the Time Force Megazord heads out to stop it, but even with the assistance of the Time Shadow, the Rangers are no match for the Q-Rex's firepower. However, the Q-Rex is damaged, so it withdraws to initiate self-repairs. Wes tries to convince Eric to give up the Morpher to him, but Eric reveals that Mr. Collins is planning to hire the other Time Force Rangers. After all, they're only here to stop Rancic, right? And with Collins' money and technology, that have everything they need to stop him. While Collins goes to the clock tower, Wes and Eric fight for the Quantum Morpher, but are interrupted by the return of the Q-Rex. The other Rangers arrive, revealing that they rejected Mr. Collins' offer. Eric, worried about the Rangers' safety, distracts the Q-Rex and destroys the control device, taking control of it himself. The Q-Rex transforms to its Megazord mode and defeats the monster. With the Q-Rex under his control, Eric is given command of the Silver Guardians. Collins begins having his team research the Quantum Ranger powers so that all of the Silver Guardians can have the Ranger technology at their disposal. There are a number of filler episodes where Eric appears but doesn't really do much, but we do see the shades of a good man behind his brash, angry personality. When Tripp scans him telepathically, he does see that he's a decent person, but he's lonely. In the following episode, Jen and Eric finally talk.
What's your problem? We're not your enemies.
You're not my friends either.
That's your choice, not ours. Maybe if you'd lose that attitude, you'd get to know us a little better. But I doubt that'll happen.
I know more about you than you think. I know that you and your friends aren't even from here.
Do me one favor. Don't tell anyone that we're from the future, especially Mr. Collins. It could ruin everything we're working for.
I'm not making any promises.
While their talk doesn't really go well, Eric does decide to not reveal to Mr. Collins that the Rangers are from the future. During the preceding fight, the mysterious person in the future engages the Mega Battle for the quantum powers, essentially a battleizer mode. Behold, Rangers on rollerblades! There's a two-part filler episode that I'm sure people want me to talk about, Movie Madness. I think it's because Rancic, played by Vernon Wells, dresses up in Mad Max gear briefly, because Vernon Wells was also in Mad Max. He was also Bennett in Commando. However, I don't really care much for the two-parter. It's just harmless fun. There are amusing bits, and I thought the movie preferences might reveal more about the characters, but frankly, the only ones that seem to make sense are Jen's love of kung fu movies and Wes's love of westerns. The rest are pretty superfluous, especially the odd choice of Katie in romantic musicals, or at least really bad musicals, given the one she's put in.
There is no sweeter rose than you, no sky that matches your eyes so blue.
This is such a strange way to meet, but you've swept me right off of my feet.
In an episode called Time Force Traitor, we learned that Jen's first partner used to be a mutant named Steelix. Steelix was bribed by Rancic and other criminals to reveal classified Time Force files before Jen found out, and he's sworn revenge. However, while it serves mostly as filler, the most interesting thing we learn is that the mysterious man who sent the time shadow to the Rangers is, in fact, Captain Logan's superior. We still don't know who he is or if Logan knew that it was him who sent the time shadow, but it does raise several questions. At the end of the episode, the mysterious man finally speaks.
There's something else.
Yes?
I'm afraid the future is shifting. It may be time for me to get involved.
It took about 15 episodes, but we finally resume Frax's own efforts to overthrow Rancic and destroy the Rangers. Frax heads into the X-Vault and retrieves a mutant who starts infecting people with the mutation that's affecting Rancic, Venomark.
What's wrong, Daddy? He's just another mutant.
Wrong. Venomark and I have a long history.
Venomark attacked me one dark, rainy night. The pain from his bite was so immense I couldn't even cry out for help. As his venom rushed through my veins, my flesh began boiling and mutating right before my eyes. It surely would have been the end of me had not a most foolish and naive doctor stopped to help me.
The doctor, Louis Ferrix, is also the inventor of the Cyclobots and takes Rancic back to his lab. However, because of Rancic's mutated DNA, he's going to need to take the serum for the rest of his life.
Why would you, a human, help me, a mutant?
Humans, mutants, robots, it makes no difference to me. I just live here peacefully, building my mechanical friends.
Robots are a waste of metal.
Actually, they can be quite useful.
Maybe as slaves.
What are you doing?
Is this all the serum you have?
Yes, but you mustn't.
You're as foolish as your robots. And that was the last I ever saw of Dr. Ferrix.
Venomark is extremely fast and is able to bite all of the Rangers except Wes, who is saved by Rancic. Rancic engages Venomark and corners him, but the mutations start up again before he can finish the job. Wes retrieves part of the serum that Rancic spilled and brings it to his father for mass production. His father, of course, sees it as a money-making opportunity, but produces more than enough of the serum, and Wes takes him back to heal the other Rangers. We also get to see some more good bits from Eric, who helps an old lady who's infected with the bite. After a Zord battle, Venomark is defeated. Back at Rancic's base, he enters his office to discover all of the vials of serum but one have been destroyed by Frax. Frax reveals that he's what remains of Dr. Ferrix.
We're both on the same side. Humans! Humans are our enemies!
Humans are your enemies! You thought you destroyed me when you destroyed my laboratory. Well, you almost did, but I survived. I was injured beyond hope, barely alive. With my life fading fast, there was only one way I knew to survive. I wouldn't have made it had I remained in my human form, so I rebuilt myself using the technology I had pioneered. I transformed myself into one of the stupid robots you so despise, and I made a vow to one day get revenge! I've waited a long time for this day. I showed you kindness, and you showed me hatred. Well, today, the doctor is going to give you some of your own medicine.
Frax gleefully destroys the last vial of serum and escapes, Rancic in pursuit with Cyclobots and a monster. Of course, the Cyclobots have no desire to find him, and surprisingly, the future guy is watching them. Meanwhile, the changes in the timeline are starting to pile up, particularly the fact that the serum wasn't supposed to be invented for another 200 years. Wes volunteers to go retrieve it from his father's lab, but fails. Then again, I'm not sure how he planned to retrieve it all, since it's been widely distributed and mass-produced by the company, and stealing one case of it probably isn't enough. Frax, meanwhile, constructs a new lab and starts assembling a giant robot. Future Guy continues to watch. Learning of the lab creating the serum, Rancic heads in with a full attack force to retrieve it, walking through the Silver Guardians. Rancic starts to mutate differently as blades pop out of his arms. Well, I mean differently than usual when he pulls swords out of his bones. Mr. Collins spots Rancic taking the serum.
I know who you are. You're trying to destroy my son. If I had known that serum could help you, I would have poured it down the drain myself.
And now you want to protect your son, the Red Ranger. No, you don't fool me. I know for a fact that you threw him out of your life.
That's right. I tried to plan my son's life, but he took charge of his own destiny, and I'll always be proud of him for doing it.
Oh, how touching. The loving father.
Rancic gets away as Mr. Collins is taken to the hospital, Eric accompanying the ambulance. Back in the future, Future Guy grabs a Time Force uniform and heads into the past. And much to the shock and amazement of the Rangers...
History's already shifted. And I'm here to set it back on track.
Alex says there isn't much time to explain, though he does say that he barely survived the fight with Rancic. He leads the team to a time ship while Mr. Collins is operated on in the emergency room. Alex decides that the first order of business is to be a jerk.
Your actions here have caused history to be altered. And now these shifts are beginning to affect the future.
How has the future been changed?
I can't tell you.
He tells them about Frax and then says he's taking over as the Red Ranger. What's more, Wes's destiny is to take over his father's company.
Wes's destiny is to take over his father's company, Biolab. Well, maybe it was, but the future isn't written in stone. We each make our own destiny. Wrong. Everything you've done up till now, I've allowed to happen. I've tried to keep history from being altered, but Frax's robot is too powerful. I had to come in person. You'll fulfill your destiny and take over Biolab. Because your father will die tomorrow.
Eric calls Wes and tells him about his father. Wes reluctantly surrenders the Red Ranger morpher and heads out to be with his father. Alex orders the Rangers back into their Time Force uniforms and berates them for wasting their time. Jen wants to know what's going on, but he says he needs to put aside his feelings for the moment since their mission is more important, but doesn't explain why he didn't tell Jen he was still alive. Alex leads them to a beach where something crashes into the water and the team summons their Megazords. Frax's robot emerges from the water and the Rangers engage it. Wes takes over his father's company and attends a board meeting, much to Eric's irritation. Eric heads out of the board meeting to help the Rangers, launching the Q-Rex against the robot. While the robot is powerful, it withdraws when the Q-Rex manages to partially damage it. While Eric decides to leave the city, for undisclosed reasons, the scientist who was in the room when Rancic shot his father tells Wes about how proud his father is of him for choosing his own path. As Frax's robot drains the Megazord's power, Wes walks out of his limo and heads to the clock tower. Frax uses a device to drain the Rangers' power, and Circuit arrives to help, but is blasted. Circuit makes it back to the clock tower and tells Wes about what happened before shutting off.
I choose my own destiny. And right now, I choose to help my friends.
The others finally confront Alex about his behavior.
Come on! Get up and fight! Don't you care? The future is depending on you?
I've had enough.
Lucas! What are you doing?
You're the one who doesn't care about the future.
If you did, you wouldn't have taken Wes's morpher.
The team is strongest this way.
No! We're strongest with Wes. If you were a real leader, you'd see that.
Before Frax can blast them, Wes tackles him and takes out the device that was draining their power. Alex gives up the chronomorpher to Wes, and the Rangers remorph to fight the robot. Alex, in the meantime, goes to Mr. Collins and uses a device to heal him. Eric, passing by in his taxi, sees the Rangers fighting the robot and runs to join them. The Rangers successfully defeat the robot, and Wes runs off to see his dad, Eric giving him a ride back to the hospital. With Mr. Collins recovered, the two talk for a bit.
I heard you took my place at the company while I was away.
Yeah, I did, but...
Yeah, listen, I can't tell you how much that meant to me, but son, I don't want you to be a businessman for my sake. Don't, for once, listen to your father. Your place is with the Rangers.
Alex decides to depart, apologizing for being a douche nozzle. This still begs the question of why, if they have a functioning time ship, they don't send reinforcements and equipment to help them, but hey, everyone parts on good terms, I guess. In a filler episode right afterwards, Jen admits something to herself.
I used to dream that one day, that would be Alex and me. But now I'm not so sure. Alex has changed so much, but so have I. Nowadays, Alex isn't in my heart the way he used to be.
Yeah, I've been leaving it out, but essentially there's been some relationship building between Jen and Wes, who's equally interested in her. With Alex back in the future, he sends new toys for kids to buy, including the Stratocycle. Following that filler, there's another filler involving a time-traveling Black Knight. Its significance is that he holds a mystic box that Wes is able to open and claim its power, becoming the Red Battle Warrior. Yep, it's Wes's Battleizer, and for the first time, it doesn't look silly. Well, except for the little flame wings in the back, but otherwise it's knight armor on top of the ranger suit. Following the filler, the next episode begins with a hand crawling out of the grave. And who should it be but Vipra? Last I remember, she was absorbed into Banshira, not buried, but hey, she is a demon. Hey, maybe in the intervening time someone taught her how to act!
The time has come for revenge.
Well, sometimes you work with what you got. Actually, to be perfectly honest, her acting is much improved, aside from a few moments, and the makeup is especially good, adding new demonic contact lenses. Vipra makes her way to the Silver Hills Museum and tries to retrieve a crystal from the glass.
Curses.
Damn, foiled by easily breakable glass! However, she tripped the silent alarm and the Silver Guardians arrive. Vipra easily takes out the Silver Guardians and teleports away.
I go where I want.
Vipra travels to Rancic and asks him to retrieve the solar amulet from the museum.
Soon, the sun will be in perfect alignment with the stars. The solar amulet will have the power to release Quarganon, a super demon.
The Rangers wait outside the museum and Rancic heads in. However, Vipra stops the Rangers from going in, having her forces fight them while Rancic retrieves the crystal. The Rangers are forced to demorph as they teleport away. However, a very familiar-looking Jeep pulls up to the Rangers.
You're gonna need my help.
And who are you?
Carter Grayson, Lightspeed Rescue Red Ranger.